This is a flight from Collins Hill in Picton, New Zealand, heading out to practice a bit of thermaling and a bit of active flying. So in this little bit here I've got a bit of roll going on, sort of rolling backwards and forwards, and my instructor recently gave me some tips on just tensing up your tummy muscles and pulling on a little bit of even brake on both sides, and you can see that smoothed that out beautifully. Here you can see me watching my wing. I'm trying to work out the correlation between what I'm feeling through the harness and the brakes and what I see the wing doing. Here I've hooked into my first thermal, a little bit closer out to the town, and I'm just trying to practice now getting roughly 90 degrees of turn every 4 seconds based on what Kelly Farina says in his books. While it was a light wind day, because the thermals were quite weak, they were drifting a lot with the wind, and so now you can see I'm heading back up into the hills a little bit, but that allowed me to get onto some stronger lift off some of these faces. You can see from my shadow here I'm into the wind just there, so I'm making good penetration, so there's no problem with me getting blown too far back. Now you can see me starting to straighten up and head back in towards the launch, and you can also see a few cloud shadows there as some of these thermals are getting a little bit more height, and so I'm trying to get under that cloud just there. Now I've managed to hook into one of the thermals feeding that cloud and get up into cloud base, which was just over 3,000 feet. It's pretty exciting to be up at this altitude, and at this point in the flight the thermals were still pretty gentle and friendly. Later in the flight things got a little bit more lumpy, and I got to practice the 3 P's of active piloting from the Passion Paragliding website. So the first P is pitch control, next P is pressure, maintaining even pressure in both brakes. I just hang my arm weight from the brakes, and that allows me to feel if something goes soft on one side. And then the other one is sitting like a sack of potatoes in your harness, so relaxing lots so that you move around in your harness to maintain even wing loading. Eventually those thermals died out, and I headed back out of a town to see if I could find something else closer to the end of the ridge, which is a pretty reliable spot, but managed to find some stuff out over town itself. By this stage the day was getting quite a bit hotter, and the stuff that was coming up off the town here was a little bit more hard-edged. Then finished off the flight by picking a slightly greener spot of grass and trying to nail a spot landing on that. And things are feeling pretty good, and I'm feeling pretty smug, and I think I've got it nailed, but in about the last 3 meters the wind's a little bit stronger and veered off to one side, but I was still pretty stoked.